for PT school is also pretty high. So
expensive. Yeah. So, and it turns out pretty good.
yeah, exactly. And honestly, the network in California is just great. So
Yeah. No, for sure. For sure.
yeah. So thanks again for hopping on. I really, really appreciate it. And like I mentioned, it's gonna be really casual. I like more like to have like a bit more entertainment in that kind of space of how we interview. Um, and like I mentioned, just like exposing pre-PTs or just SPTs onto like what the possibilities are aside from the quote unquote traditional realm of just like outpatient clinic.
Okay. What's the mission for the podcast? It's just to explore the different avenues, like you said.
Oh, it's gonna be on YouTube, and so it is the different avenues, but also trying to expose them younger. So I have content that is
Oh.
coming out that are specifically geared towards kinesiology and exercise science students.
Oh, so
And
undergrad,
then,
still in undergrad. Oh,
mhm.
nice.
Yeah. So because like I mentioned, I wanted to do this since the eighth grade, and I think earlier exposure the better. So
No,
that's kind of
exactly.
where I'm trying to go with it.
No, I like that. I like that. That's good. When is it gonna launch, or is it already launched? Or
No, so I'm just collecting a bunch of interviews at first, and then I'm going to launch it hopefully by September, October time.
oh, that's awesome. And then from there, yeah, that'd be cool. It'd be a cool little gig because I think that's one thing. Like, I mean, as a undergrad, I wish I had that like a little bit more exposure. Like, but now, with social media, there's a lot of more exposure, so it's like kind of cool now.
Yeah, I think honestly, I'm super excited for like the next wave of physical therapists because the amount of exposure that they're going to have
Oh, it's
is
crazy.
going to be gnarly. I'm so
Yeah,
excited for it.
no, for sure. Yeah, it's crazy. Like it's gonna be a grind because right now, like the reimbursements are going lower and lower. So I mean, you have to kind of find ways outside of that 9 to 5
Hmm.
to grind, But that's cool. No, that's be awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. And so just exposing them to like even the fact of like cash base is the thing. Like most PTs have no clue that you can just do cash base to begin with. So
Yeah,
I'm trying to really break the rhetoric of like the broke PT.
yeah, exactly. No, for sure.
Because I
Have
really
to.
do love the field. So that's one of my missions here.
No, for sure. That'd be good.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So let's go ahead and start. Let me do. Okay, so hi, Marco. Thanks again for hopping on this call with me via Zoom, Zoom University coming up soon. Um, um, I just want to once again thank you for hopping on. And like I mentioned, it's going to be a bit of a insight as to you as a profession, exposing younger individuals that are curious about PT, don't quite know what PT, even if they are kind of like going down that avenue of wanting to do PT, just not quite sure where they would kind of fit in a niche, right? And you have a very specific niche. So I just want to expose and talk a bit about you today and how you came about that, your personal journey, and what a couple of steps that people should take. So let's go ahead and start with your story, your personal story. Who are you? What do you do? And then who are you outside of PT and physical therapy?
Okay, well, thanks for having me on. I think what you're doing is a great thing. I think it's expose a lot of students on kind of like you said, the different realms of PT, which is going to be huge. Because I wish what you're doing right now, I had that growing up, like in undergrad and everything. But so my name is Marco. I'm a physical therapist and certified strength coach based out of like Manhattan Beach, Hermosa Beach, California area. I was born and raised in Los Angeles. Went to high school here, and I went to I played basketball throughout my high school career, middle school career. Then I always had a bunch of injuries like growing up. So like every year, I mean, I started playing varsity high school basketball freshman year, but every year was cut short because of injuries from MCL sprain, ankle sprain, broke my finger, just random injuries. And they would always call me injury prone, like, what's the next injury? And then that's what kind of led me to kind of go into more of the sciences. But I hated high school. I hated not hated school. I hated academics. Never liked science. I only took like biology and chemistry. I never took AP bio or anything like that. But I knew because I liked this field, I was like, I want to learn more about it. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna major in science when I go to undergrad. So I got into USC, majored in human bio, and I hated biology. I was like, I guess I'm not doing pre-med.
You
And
sound like
then
me. Oh my gosh.
yeah, it was the worst. Chemistry, all those classes were the worst. So I had a bad GPA, also going out all the time, USC freshman year, a lot of parties and stuff. So GPA was really bad. And then I was like, do I really want to do the pre-PT route or whatever? Because I was thinking about pre-med, pre-PT, because I'm kind of over these sciences. But then that's when I started getting exposed to exercise science and all this cool stuff. And that's when everything kind of turned the switch. When I learned anatomy, I was like, oh man, this is actually fun. Um, and throughout undergrad, I was a student athletic trainer for the USC football team, volleyball team, baseball team, and basketball team for a little bit as well. So I got exposed to those areas, and that's what I think that was kind of crucial. And I think I advise any pre-PT to really find out if you want to be an athletic trainer, strength coach, or physical therapist, or an MD by exposing yourself in that environment. Because I thought I wanted to be a strength coach, but I realized, man, these hours are long. And then I was like, how about an athletic trainer? And I was like, they're never going home. And the
I've
PT was
heard
the only yeah, and the PT was the only person that was in there certain amount of hours and then would leave. So I was like, that's a better work-life balance because I enjoy my outside time of work. Um, so that kind of led me to, and then a lot led me to in the route of becoming a PT. Like I was like, all right, I want to go into PT school. And like you said, I like this channel because it kind of gives you're going to be exposing different careers. I thought it was just, hey, the 9 to 5, you're just going to work not, certain amount of hours. So I was like, it's kind of cool job, easy work-life balance. Um, so I applied to PT school, did some research before to really strengthen my resume and stuff like that. And got into USC in 2014. So I graduated undergrad 2014, started PT school in 2014 at USC. Went through USC PT school, and when I started doing my clinical rotations, I realized like, damn, a lot of these PTs aren't happy. They're just grinding 9 to 5, and then like you said, the broke PT kind of mindset. It was like I saw them grinding. I was like, man, I thought I was gonna be making bank when I graduated PT school.
Right.
I didn't work so much for it. I was like, what the hell? And that's what kind of got me. Once I found that the first clinical, I found that kind of early. So I was like, man, I was like thinking of new ideas, like how am I gonna make some more cash flow on the outside? Because I didn't want to restrict myself in the PT clinic. So that's when I started like a little Instagram, but then I stopped because I started working as a personal trainer. But I was already surrounded with people that I was classmates with the prehab guys. I don't know if all the pre-PTs kind of know them. It's like Mike, Arash, and Craig. So we were always talking about different ways to kind of supplement our income because we are like, I don't know if the clinic's life for us because we
Yeah, like this ain't it.
yeah, this ain't it. Because you see, I would see like based on our first clinicals when we were talking all together in the summer, we're like, damn, man, everyone's miserable. I thought it would be more fun, because you got student loans that are super high, salary's not that high, and you're working and you got to document after. It was crazy. So that was throughout like the moral of the story, like throughout the PT school, like we got to figure out ways that once at the first clinical, I was like, I don't want to be stuck in the 9 to 5 grind where it's just nonstop and you don't make no money, you burn out and everything. So that's what kind of gave me some ideas, like what I want to run my own practice. That was my goal coming out of PT school, but I wanted to get some experience. However, after I graduated PT school, right when I was studying for the boards, I tore my ACL playing basketball. And I was always playing basketball. And then once I tore it, I had a lot of downtime. Right before I took the boards, I think it was 2 weeks. So I didn't take the boards because my knee was jacked up. I couldn't concentrate. I was like, there's no way I could take
Yeah,
the boards. So I
that's
pushed,
rough.
yeah, so I pushed the boards back. And when I pushed the boards back, I had so much time, so much free time. So I was just on Google trying to look up like basketball rehab, all this random stuff. And I couldn't find anything. So I hit up one of my buddies, Gabe Ignacio, who's my co-founder now. I was like, hey, dude, there's like, and he was my basketball buddy in PT school. We were always playing basketball. And I was like, hey, there's no like platform about basketball rehab, like, and all this stuff and performance. And I was like, do you want to create one? He was like, he was kind of hesitant. I was like, dude, let's just do it. I was just like in that mentality, let's just do it. And he's like, let's talk about it. Next thing you know, like bunch of Saturdays. We started working, like coming up with ideas. Like we had this whole thing of like, before we launch, we need to have like 3 months worth of content. Like we were going hard. And then we finally launched it in like Coachella weekend of 2018, because I remember Eminem was going to come out at Coachella, and I had my ticket, and we I forgot what, we didn't film or didn't write something, and we were going to launch that weekend, so I couldn't go, and that's when I knew, oh, this thing's getting real. I'm skipping out Coachella for the first time in like 5 years.
He's like, wait,
So
everyone pause. It's real. I didn't go to Coachella. Time out.
yeah,
Like we
yeah, I
gotta
was
put
gonna
this
say
grind
this.
in.
I was like, this is actually real, and then that's what kind of led me to create that little niche, just like a basketball injury. And I was like, you know what? I was trying to find resources online to help other find like just resources, like if I want to just do rehab myself, even though I'm a PT, I kind of know what's going on.
Mhm.
I just wanted other people to kind of bounce ideas from, and there was no one online. So we decided to create that platform, and our whole goal is to optimize the movement of any basketball player to improve their basketball experience for the rest of their life. So instead of ball is life, everyone's known like ball is life. We're doing ball for life, so you can play basketball for the rest of your life. And
Ooh.
yeah, so and we provide evidence-based information online through our Instagram, TikTok, podcast, YouTube, and our whole goal is, if we could help one basketball player that doesn't have access to PT, our job is done, because a lot of players don't have access. They'll sprain their ankle. And, basketball is a game, a sport that's kind of was an outlet for us. And I remember when I would get hurt, it would kind of put me down because I couldn't do that. And that was like an outlet. So if we could help prevent injuries and increase their ability to get back on the court through rehab, proper rehab, I think our job is done. And I think the more information we put out there, because there's crazy information that you see online. So coming from our perspective as PTs, not only does it bring awareness for our field, like, oh, damn, physical therapists actually know how the body moves and everything. Because
Right.
before, they'll be surprised, like, you're a PT? I was like, yeah, because we do a lot of performance-based stuff, but we do a lot of manual stuff as well. But their perception of old physical therapy is like, oh, I'll go in there, get some stem, ice. But then they're like, oh, dang, we're actually sweating. So they kind of like that. And we try to bridge that gap between rehab and performance. So that's kind of like my story where we got there. Now, I work at a clinic in Manhattan Beach for 25 hours a week, and the rest is just treating people cash-based. And we're launching like an app, hopefully by the next month, with a lot of online programs. So we're doing jumping programs, we're doing everything. So we're literally trying to change the field of basketball performance, not performance per se, but the way you train for basketball, having like a PT background. Because now we know, like a good example is ACL. There's a lot of 64% of ACLs are non-contact injuries, and we could reduce that risk for non-contact injury by a lot if we just teach correct mechanics and everything. So if we teach them at a young age, they'll be in good position to be able to play basketball for the rest of their life. But that's kind of where my story is at and where I'm at now.
That's honestly so dope. Like there was so much in that was just so
Yeah.
amazing. Like I think a lot of the time people forget that the sport that you play, like it resonates with you, especially like something that you've been doing since you were like 6 years old or something like that.
Yeah.
Like even for those that don't go pro, it's like it's still so ingrained in who you are as an individual. Like for me, I did dance since I was like 5 years old, and it's something that's still ingrained with me. Am I going to be a professional dancer? No, but it's something that I still do on a regular basis. And even for those that do want to pursue professional, route, having that information, having that like availability, I think is so important, because you won't always have access to a specific type of doctor, right? That actually knows your movement, that knows like the type of injury that you're more prone to, that knows that, hey, even though this might not be quote unquote functional for everyone else, I need this for this specific type of activity.
Exactly.
And it's
No,
functional
100%
for
agree.
them.
100% agree. Yeah, it's like if you play the sport, I mean, the reason I got into this field because I would get injured in basketball. So I was like, I'm probably not going to make it pro. So next best thing is helping other people's realize their dreams of getting pro. So like that's our that's our mission and that's our goal. So for any like PT student that likes a sport, usually you get into the field because of a sport, because of an injury. Why not just niche down on that specific thing? Because it's like it's hard to be very good at everything. But if we just niche down at one thing, you set yourself apart between someone else. Because when people come in and see us for basketball related injuries, we play the game, we know the game, we've seen a lot of players, so we kind of know exactly what's going on. So it really helps us out in that way and buy-in. And sometimes like a bunch of our ACO guys are like, hey, when I get healthy, I want to play on the court. I was like, let's do it. So I gotta step up my game because I haven't been playing too much because of COVID. So
he's like, let me
we'll
get
see.
this COVID body going and just
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. I love it. And so who are you outside of PT? Like you mentioned basketball. Give us a little bit of insight, if that's okay, with your personal life and a bit of your journey as an individual. Because I think a lot of the times we get our brain kind of stuck with, okay, I'm a PT and a PT only.
Yeah.
Who are you outside of that?
I would say, I mean, I like to have a lot of fun. I mean, I go out all the time. Well, obviously, COVID is hitting, can't really do anything. But I like to go to concerts. I live here in Hermosa Beach, so I go to the beach, surf, skate, bike. So, I mean, pretty much I wouldn't define my life as a PT. I think that's just an occupation. I mean, I just do everything. They'll be surprised. We're like, what the hell? You're a PT? Or like, you're a doctor of PT? And
Darn right.
one because of, yeah, one because I'm, I guess, a little on the younger side because I went straight through. But I usually like I'm pretty much just, I would say, like any other 27-year-old. I'm like to go out, have fun, um, explore new places. I like to travel a lot. That's why I also kind of went niche down because I mean, like last year I did like a Euro trip, but I was only going to do it for 3 weeks, and I was like, my next year goal, which was this year, is like drop more of my hours so I don't have to work for someone else. So I'm like, hey, if I need to take some time off, I'll take it. Um, so I think uh, my main reason is I like doing what I want to do when I want to do it. So that's what kind of led me to
Yeah.
go into that um, quote unquote entrepreneur life where it's like you do whatever you want. So um, that's my biggest thing. I'm also a really hard worker, so it's kind of uh, gets me not so much mad, but I get I work really hard in the clinic, but there's only my ceiling is so high, and I like to just be able to start working on my own. And it's like you can work as hard as you can in the clinic, work for someone else. They don't really care how hard you work because at the end of the day, it all comes down to how much money you bring in, and the way you bring in more money is by seeing more clients. So that's what kind of led me to that other lifestyle. But um, yeah, I would say like on the outside, I like to have fun, go out and just explore new places, and stay active. Kind of like, yeah, I would say that's kind of it.
Yeah, it's so interesting that you mentioned that a little bit of a disparity when it comes to working in the clinic, right? I think a lot of the times, and I'll be guilty of that as well. Is you think that, hey, if I work at a clinic or a hospital, and they see how great I am, and they see how amazing my patients are coming, and they're
Yeah,
doing their thing, and everyone's happy, I can ask for everything.
already.
The sky's the limit.
Yeah,
Boom. They'll see the reflection in my work, and they'll reflect that in my pay.
yeah,
Right? And the reality is it does not work like that, unfortunately,
yeah,
and that's where I think a lot of PTs and just honestly practitioners in general, clinicians, are seeing that the more private route is it provides more freedom, like you mentioned. Like you have the option to be like, hey, do I feel like treating today? Maybe not. Like,
exactly.
and
Yeah,
that in and of itself is really beautiful.
yeah. No, 100% agree. I think the earlier you find that out, I think that's huge. Because I mean, I remember I found that out in my first clinical because I was under. It wasn't a great clinical per se. It was a good clinical, and I would say it was a great clinical, but not in the actual manual standpoint. I didn't learn too much physical therapy wise, but I learned so much of the business side, and it really opened my eyes to what I really want to do. Like one guy, my CI, pretty much told me, he's like, hey man, here's a breakdown. A lot, because he kind of told me in a business perspective. For me, I can only give someone a raise if they bring in more money. And the way they're going to bring in more money is by seeing more patients. So how does that, so your ceiling is already high. And the only way you're going to do it is by working for yourself or working in a different environment. But I think it's a great point, because I know a lot of my classmates or former friends are like, man, I'm trying to ask for a raise. I'm like, you're going to ask for a raise, but at the same time, you got to think about it in a business perspective. What are you doing for the company to bring in more money? Yeah, you're getting people better, but that doesn't really generate money per se. What's going to generate more money is you seeing more people or creating different programs. So that's what I think, if you learn early on, is like, what can you do for the company to bring in more money? Then that's going to lead you to get a raise, you know? But there's only so much you could do. That's why you have to go in the private route or do other stuff, like create little podcasts or do something else on the outside of time. So I think that the old 9 to 5 PT lifestyle, it's good, you know, if you're okay, satisfied with it, which is no problem. But if you want more, you have to create some stuff and then do some stuff outside of that 9 to 5.
Yeah. Yeah. It's such a shift, and it's also a mindset shift, because I think, like you said, right now, like kind of right now, how things are set up, it's slowly starting to get more like exposure and discussion. But I would say like maybe 3 years ago, it
Yeah.
it wasn't very easy to kind of find these resources and to have this knowledge and to be more aware in this regard. So it's really great that you're talking about this, and a lot of PTs are like trying to help the next generation. Like, hey, this is the way to do it if you want to. Which is like Marco mentioned, like if this is not the avenue that you feel and resonate with your heart and your mission in life, totally fine. Like there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I know for me, when I get out of school, I want to do maybe a year or two in the hospital, like acute.
Yeah.
But still also having my own like something on the side. But I just want that experience. But here's the caveat: the freedom of the options.
Exactly. That's the biggest thing. Like you mentioned it, like how you said, it's not for everyone. I mean, I was okay going 9 to 5 if I didn't have loans and go out surf in the morning, go to work, chill. I mean, it's a nice lifestyle, but I had a bigger picture. I've always wanted to run my own facility ever since I was a kid. I was like, make it to the NBA, then have a facility to train basketball guys and rehab. So I couldn't make it to the NBA. So now I'm trying to work on that second goal that I've had ever since I was like 8 years old. So that's why, like I tell people, it's not for everyone. Uh, I'm the lead PT in my clinic, even though I only work there 25, 30 hours a week because I've been there the longest. But the biggest thing there, I have a lot of younger PTs, not younger PTs, they're older than me, but they graduated PT school like 2 years ago, 1 year ago. And I tell them, it's like, they're happy with the 9 to 5, and I'm not going to argue with them. I'm like, yeah, if you're happy, you're good. But
Right.
it's like, for those people that aren't happy with it and aren't doing anything about it, and that's your fault. You know, there's other avenues. And so you have to kind of take responsibility. If you're happy with it, it's okay. But if you're not happy with it, you got to change it. You got to figure out what you're going to do to change it and set a game plan. And that's what I usually tell people. It's like, um, stop complaining and just kind of make changes yourself. I mean, that's the only way we're going to, as a profession, arise above everyone else, is by really bringing the profession up and stop kind of bashing on a profession and really start making the change that you can make, as opposed to just, you know, going on boards talking about how bad our profession is the biggest thing is more action. I mean, I'm big person on action. I rather like, we do a lot of pro bono work with my company. We sponsor 5 athletes a month, free sessions.
Oh, wow.
But the biggest thing is, we're not going out there trying to bash like, oh, you know, physical therapy, all this. We just, hey, we're gonna put in the work. I'm a big proponent of actions speak louder than words. So if you put in the work and do your part, I'm satisfied with that. I know a lot of people's like, oh, we need to do this, we need to do that. It's like, why aren't you doing it then? So
Yeah.
that's kind of the biggest thing. So I think if younger PT, so if you're happy with the 9 to 5, albeit, but if you're not happy with it, and that's what kind of brings down a profession, because you start showing that performance at work, you start not caring about the patient as much, and you're not doing that, you got to change it. You either got to go to acute care or something, or change up the scenery. There's a lot of fields within PT find what you're passionate about, and that's what's gonna keep you driving, you know?
Yeah. And if any PTs are watching this, also stop complaining to the aides and volunteers that you're upset in
Yeah,
your own situation.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. I mean, we have aides in there, and a couple of my aides, I really pushing to kind of create some stuff. Like one of them's like a podcast strategist, whatever. And now, like he does all podcasts. Cause I told him, I was like, hey, and he knows we're grinding every day. And I was like, hey, you gotta, if you want to be in a good position, if you're not want to get to where you want, you have to start grinding. It's not going to be like an easy route. I think, I know when I went into PT school, I was like, oh, just 9 to 5. I'm gonna surf in the morning, kick it, work out, go home. That's it. Got a rude awakening in the first clinic where you actually have to stay over, do some notes and everything. So that's what kind of changed my mentality. So if you expose the aides and volunteers, like, yeah, we're staying over, but I'm happy with that. They're okay. But it's more when they have those negative things and it kind of turns people away from our profession, because the aides are going to be like, oh, what the hell? I gotta freaking stay an hour after, So that's what, for any aides or volunteers that are following PTs, just make sure, one, you follow a PT that you want to follow and have, there's some good energy there, because there's a lot that are burned out. Because if that energy is going to turn you away, and then you're not going to want to have a good PT experience. You're like, oh, you know what? I don't want to go to physical therapy anymore. So that's my advice for, like you said, for any volunteers or aides. Make sure the PT that you're following is doing is happy with their job. Either if they're doing 9 to 5 or doing some stuff outside, as long as they're happy, that's good.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I've been around two ends of the spectrum and some in
Yeah.
between of, PTs that absolutely love it. Like, thankfully, I was around a PT. My very first interaction with physical therapy was a PT that was phenomenal. She loved her job. Patients loved her. It was all great. I have
Nice.
also been around some PTs that made me wince at the career field after wanting
Damn.
to do it for so many years. I was like, ugh. And I've had PTs that have legitimately told me, don't be a physical therapist,
Oh
be a
shit.
physician. And I was like, she's like, don't do it, just don't do it, just don't do it. I was like, don't you have a degree? Like, what are you telling me right
Yeah,
now?
yeah. You're into deep. You're into deep.
Yeah. And they were in their own circumstances, like you said, and thankfully, I kept true to the ones that really loved it and really was passionate about it, and just kept pushing. But yeah, if you are a pre-PT and volunteering or an aide or something like that, please try your best. I know it's hard to be in those type of environments, but sometimes you also have to walk away. Like I've been in a volunteer setting where I stepped away because it wasn't bringing me value. It wasn't
Exactly.
bringing me value. It was great for like hours, like yeah, for school, but like the hours are so much more than a prerequisite for school. Like, how are you really learning? How are you growing as an individual and actually absorbing information about the field that you can actually take to PT school? Because I
Yeah.
know when people don't have enough hours, something like that, they don't have enough exposure, all the things that you're learning in school seem so abstract. That's why they
Yeah.
have clinicals and all this other stuff to expose you. But if you go in with the bare minimum, everything is so abstract, so you don't have anything to actually hold bearing to while you're actually learning and processing this information. So if you are at a clinic that you don't feel is a positive value system for you, don't feel bad about stepping away at all. Do what is right for you and what you want out of that as well, because honestly they're getting free free
Free
workers. So
labor.
yeah,
Yeah.
free labor. So you can. And so, with all that being said, what locked you in as opposed to like going to um a bit more, I guess, specific when it comes to like more acute? Because I know you mentioned like your own injuries and stuff like that. It could have gone two routes. It could have been like, okay, I want to see them right after, the surgery or something like that. But you went more performance route, right? What was that deciding factor, and what was that deeper connection that you had with maybe a patient or something like that? That was like, boom, like I'm locked in. This is my niche, because you have essentially grown from a very specific niche. So what pulled you in that emotional connection?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I would say the biggest thing is I've always liked working. I just was fascinated with the human body, what it could do, like the whole anatomy of it. Like I said, I hated biology. I remember I told my high school teacher, I was like, I think I was like a young jock. I was like ninth grade varsity, and I was like, I don't need this class, and I walked out of it. And then now, next thing you know, I got a doctorate in sciences. It's the worst. But
Full circle.
uh, um, but that was my biggest thing was I don't know, I was just fascinated with just like how the human body moves and everything. And you make a great point because I actually was thinking, I was like, you know what, I kind of wouldn't be kind of down to work at a hospital, acute care. And I did that's why I signed up for a clinical rotation. I'll be like, oh, this might be kind of cool. Like get in, get out. The lifestyle looks pretty easy. I got there, it was literally the worst clinic of my entire life. I hated every single bit of it. I was like, I'm not cut out for this. Like, um, it was a acute care cardiopulmonary inpatient, and it was like pretty intense. Like people were
That
dying left and right. Yeah, yeah, I kept, yep.
Okay, I used to work at Keck, so yeah.
Oh, right, yeah, yeah. I did. I forgot what floor it was. It was just like the only thing that got me through the day was going to the gym in the morning, and then going to the thing. So it's like the only thing I was looking for is like, hey, my workout in the morning, and then hopefully these 8 hours go by fast. But it
You're looking
was
at the clock like, please hurry
exactly.
faster.
It was just like I mean, I applaud those people that do it. It's just like too much. Like some of the things, it's like I don't know. I just like really. I mean, I think maybe just because I didn't have a good thing. I like to joke around with my patients. Like I like to mess around with them all the time. Like in the clinic right now, it's like I make fun of them, talk crap at them, and really motivate them. So I'm really big on that. And my experience in the cardio poem, I was like joking around with some people, and then like the PTs of it, no, you can't be saying that. And I was like, you know what, I'm over it. If I can't even be myself at a clinical, like there's no way. You know, like it goes to show. Like I mean, there was another PT on that floor that was kind of like similar personality to me, just joking around, having fun. I probably would have liked it a little bit better, but it all comes down to who you're with and in the clinical. So maybe, but I mean, I learned from there. I was like, you know what? There's no way. But what I liked about that is I was able to see exactly how, let's say, a person's coming back from surgery or anything, heart surgery, what the process was. So it was good to see the continuum of care. So I was like, I did it for 6 to 8 weeks, and then I did another acute care for 2 weeks. So I got good exposure of pretty much if someone has like a total knee replacement, hip replacement, or heart surgery, and I'm more in the performance rehab route. I know exactly where they were once they came out of the surgery room and they were in the hospital bed. So I know everything from there, and now I'm just going to get them back to my goal is to get them back to running and everything. So that's what kind of got me back in there. And then me having an ACL injury and not wanting to tear it again really helped me dive in deep in ACL. So I did a lot of research. I've worked with like 67 or I think it was like 68. I got a new one this week. ACLs in the past 3 years. Um, so been doing a lot of reps, and I think my biggest thing is I want to make sure there's a lot of movement faults that people put themselves at risk for injury, and if we could decrease that, that's my biggest thing because I think I could have gone farther in basketball if I never got hurt. And there was a lot of injuries that could have been prevented. So if I could help prevent someone else's injuries and be able to allow them to play their full basketball career, my day's complete. So I think that's what really drove me, just my experiences as an individual growing up playing basketball. It was like, hey man, I would always get hurt, and I was like, what the hell is it? Do I have weak bones? But it was all these like there was a couple of freak injuries, but a lot of them was like once my knee buckled, the other one was just like random movements. So it's like if I could decrease that risk and allow that high school player to play basketball, my job is done. And that's what I'm very passionate about and have the most fun with. So that's what kind of really helped me niche down. But like I said, um, started off as a cute. I thought it was gonna be a chill job. Like, you know what? Go to the hospital, get good benefits, kick it. It was completely the opposite. I didn't like it. It's not for everyone. It's like I said, outpatient ortho is not for everyone either. So it's like every field is specific towards you. And as long as you're having fun, that's the biggest thing. And I wasn't having fun in acute care, and I have fun every day at work. I remember when I first started working, I was like, shit, I'm getting paid for this thing. I'm like messing around with some of the page. Yeah. So it's something, yeah, there's a couple of days that I go in, I was like, what the hell? Did I just get paid for this day? And I was just like kicking it, not kicking it, but having fun with them,
Enjoying
and
yourself.
everything. Exactly. So, um, and I wasn't having that fun in acute care, or I also did peds. Peds was like, I can't even say cross-legged. So I was like, that's not even, that's not even out of the picture. And then the
You gotta
other
open up
seven,
those hips.
yeah,
What's
exactly.
going on?
Yeah, now I'm way better at it. But that's the other setting, and I'm trying to think. Neuro, I was like, nah, I can't do that. So it's all big. I think the biggest thing is really exposing yourself early on to as a pre-PT. Hey, just check out the neuro stuff. Check out the inpatient, because I thought I did Rancho Los Amigos when I was in undergrad.
Hey,
Did some hours there,
Rachel.
and I liked it. It was fun. And then I was like, that's why I was like, you know what, inpatient would be kind of cool. But then I did CAC, and I was like completely opposite. It was probably maybe the environment that I was in. It was not as fun. But so that's why I said, like, try out everything before you make a decision. Because I know a lot of people are heavy like ortho. They go into PT school. Turns out to be neuro. So just check out this stuff. And I also did aquatic PT. That was kind of cool. But just check out kind of every avenue there is,
Yeah.
and experience it yourself and see how it is.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing that we're both getting at here is just like expose yourself to as much as you can. And especially for
Exactly.
folks that are volunteering, they will take the free labor, okay?
Exactly.
Like there's very few facilities I would be like, actually no, we're not going to take volunteers. Like there are
Yeah.
very few.
You need the
Like
free work.
exactly. And just taking that time to really explore and bounce around and figure out what you like. Not everyone's going to be resonating with ortho. Not
Exactly.
everyone is going to resonate with hospital work, right? Like but
Exactly.
you have to find what actually works with you, what aligns with um what your preference is. Like it should just be fun. It should be something that is enticing. It should be something that is challenging but enjoyable. And I think a
Exactly.
lot of the time people are just like, oh, well, this was the first spot that I volunteered. I'm going outpatient ortho. And it's like, there's so much out
Yeah.
there's so much out there. And that was one of my missions when I was, a pre-PT. I was like, all right, what are the variety of different lanes that I can do as a physical therapist, right? We have ortho, we have neuro, we have acute. Most people don't even know that wound care exists. Get
Wound care.
get weird with wound care, you guys. It's a
Yeah.
journey, okay?
I bet.
Like you know exactly what I'm talking about. Get
Yeah.
familiar with like so many different avenues. If there's a sport specific um genre that you want to go into, find a PT that does that. Like
Yeah.
figure it out and have fun figuring it out. Don't think that there's a lot of pressure. There's pelvic floor, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
There's so many different avenues, and just look out there. They're all there. You just have to take the time and look. When I was a pre-PT as well, and I was starting as an aide, I was like, all right, I did a certain amount of time of volunteer. Let's see what I can like how I can diversify myself as a pre-PT, not only as an applicant for school, but as jobs too, you guys. Like it
Exactly.
looks fires for you to say, like, hey, as a volunteer, I've worked here, and here I am as an aide, bringing all my knowledge that I have gained from all these other places. Like,
Yep.
you guys have to leverage your experiences. And I know a lot of pre-PTs were like, well, like, how am I supposed to get a job as an aide? I'm telling you right now how to get a job as an aide, okay?
Yeah.
Go
Exactly.
volunteer, expose yourself, and just explore and have fun. Like, I think the time to do it is when you don't have all the pressure of student loans, you guys. Like
Exactly.
you won't be bogged down with the like what $3,000 bill every month that is student loans.
Yeah. Yeah. I get. Yeah. It's not gonna be fun when you first get that check from Sally Mae. You're gonna hate that girl.
Marco, I did my
Yeah.
registration literally on
Yeah.
Monday.
Yeah. It's gonna be a heart attack. Shit. But you're in too deep already. Once, like, I remember I looked at it, I was like, fuck, man, this is gonna be a long ass journey.
I know. It's one of those moments. It's like it's happening, and then like you see that number at the bottom. You're like, I don't think I've even touched that amount of cash in one day. But
Exactly. Yeah.
okay.
Shit. It's a wake up call. You're like, what
Yeah,
the
but it's
hell?
also like Focus on the end goal. Focus on the end goal. End goal. End goal.
Exactly. Survive first, then we'll figure out later how to
Hey,
pay.
that's exactly it. That's exactly it. So, what kind of injuries? Because you mentioned ACL. With your specialties and your knowledge, what are the top three injuries that you find your population sustains?
Yeah, I would say the top three, and not in a specific order, but I would say the most common that we see are ACL injuries, and that's the anterior cruciate ligament, usually occur non-contact or contact. Contact, someone hits you from the side, like someone, when I was playing basketball, I landed, or I was gonna jump, and I stopped, and a guy just lands on my leg, so my knee snapped in. So those are the contact. Those are the ones that you can't really prevent, and then you have the non-contact, which like Derrick Rose or a lot of these players, they do a little Euro step or they jump to the side and their knee just
Yeah.
buckles. Boom.
Mhm.
So that's the most common, especially for females. The other, not the most common, but one of the commons, the other one that we deal a lot with is jumper's knee. So patellar tendinopathy. So tendinopathy is different from tendonitis. Tendonitis, you just rest it, you should be good. Tendinopathy is just overexposure of jumping. So just you start jumping more and more, using that quad, using that patellar tendon, and that leads to actual changes in the patellar tendon. So these players get in this cycle of, oh, it feels good. I rested, it feels good. They go back, oh, it gets worse. So that's when you kind of know it's not tendonitis, it's more tendinopathy. It's just that recurring, like they're battling with that cycle and it's actual changes in the tendon. Um, that's one, that's just, I would say that's one of the top ones. And the other one's like an ankle sprain. Um, Everyone deals with ankle sprains, but what I've noticed is they don't rehab properly. And I know studies have shown that there's I think they say 4.9 times more likely to re-sprain your ankle once you sprain it once. So you're at 5 times more likely to sprain your ankle once. And if you don't have rehab, I think the stat is like, I think 54% of the time you'll lead, if you don't do rehab, it might lead to chronic ankle instability. And that's where the basketball players say, hey, my ankle's weak, or I always sprain it. Because what happens is they don't get their full range of motion, or their muscles around the ankle aren't strong, or their proprioception's off or whatever. One of the things, and it's causing that recurrent ankle sprain. So those are the top three things. And I like the lower body, like the hip, knee, ankle, and those are the most common injuries in basketball. So that's kind of like the most one. So if anyone wants to learn about basketball, I would say just literally study those three injuries, and you're on your way to kind of be able to work with any basketball player.
Awesome, awesome. And so you mentioned the jumping. Out of curiosity, because as you were talking about it, do you find that those that do more like concrete court work sustain that type of injury more than the floorboard traditional flooring in a basketball court?
That's a great question. I would say, I mean, it depends because I feel like some of the serious hoopers only play indoors. Like I know I was kind of like turning into a drama queen. And I mean, I started playing in the concrete outdoor courts, and then once I found an indoor gym near my house, never again would play outdoor. It's
Right.
always indoor. So it's hard to say, but I would say this: like the flooring in basketball gyms has a little bit more give in it, so you don't have to put a little bit more pressure. However, what the concrete obviously doesn't have as much give, so that's gonna create more force that you got to absorb. So you're not absorbing the ground's not absorbing it as much. So you have to use your muscles and everything. So that's one risk factor. But I would say the biggest risk factor we see is kids now are playing in multiple games, multiple teams, multiple practice throughout the day. So like, oh, I'm doing weightlifting, then I'm playing again. So they're playing more and more, and they're specializing in basketball very young. So they're not doing anything outside. They're just playing basketball. So if you don't have your legs strong, and your body's just constantly jumping, that leads to that overload on the tissue capacity, which is the patellar tendon. So your body's not ready for that, and that's what kind of leads to some of those patellar tendons. So it could be kind of both the concrete floor, but I think it's more of the now kids are specializing at a young age. Like I mean, we saw a kid that a 13-year-old kid that's been playing basketball since he was 7 and only basketball and not doing it, and then he has jumper's knee. It's because he's been doing all these crazy plyometrics. But I usually tell people, so your muscles have to be really strong to be able to absorb all that impact that you're doing, or else the tendon will get it. And then as a basketball player, I know growing up, we never went to the weight room. So now they're starting to see like we're starting to revolutionize basketball where people are getting into the weight room, getting stronger, and they're gonna have less of those patellar tendinopathy injuries and going from there.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, because I was, as you were talking, I remembered my time as a dancer. So dancer,
Yeah,
has similar floors and like they absorb a bit.
exactly,
They have a bit of give. But I also know that basketball players, when they just chopping it up, go on the concrete and just do a quick
exactly.
game. So I was just kind of curious because I know for me, when I was a dancer, we would practice in like obviously floors, but if we booked for like a venue or something like that, or like
Yeah,
a concert, it was outside. And they didn't always
yeah,
have the shock absorbing like floorboards. So we had to be strategic in how we landed and all these other things,
exactly.
just to make sure that we didn't injure ourselves. So I was just kind of curious on that.
No, for sure. Yeah, no, that's a great point. That'd be interesting to see. I mean, a lot of people just play concrete, but I feel like the serious hoopers are just off playing indoor. They don't want to go outside. They don't want to mess up their shoes. I know I didn't want to mess up my shoes.
Can't blame you. Can't blame you.
Yeah.
And then so what is your approach to working with these individuals? So are you usually um, I know it's like kind of age specific, but for this niche, how is your approach to working with them and communicating them with them, as opposed to somebody's like doing out or acute care or something like that?
Yeah, so I would say it depends. I know in my outpatient ortho, obviously we do an eval, and we're like, hey, we'll figure out what's going on in our clinic, and then let's see what your insurance, like, let's say it's a player comes in with a post op, we know exactly what went wrong. They had surgery, but I'm trying to figure out what led to the surgery in the first place. Oh, someone hit me. Okay, it was contact, or it was non-contact. I landed wrong. All right, so now we got to first get you back up to speed, and then figure out what's wrong with your mechanics that led to that injury. Um, but with the outpatient ortho at an insurance space, 'cause I work at an insurance space for 25 hours a week, there's only so much you could do. You see them for 30 minutes, and then you got another patient. But with our private clients, we actually have a full-on approach where they come in, let's say for an ankle injury, we're doing our full basketball movement screen. And we have a full basketball movement screen where we check out pretty much the entire movements of basketball. So we have like a series of events, seeing how they jump to the side, how they squat, single leg squat, do all these little movements. And we're just kind of taking note. Okay, we're taking note at all times, like, okay, that looks off. This is like, so we kind of treat the whole player as opposed to the body part when we see private base, because we have more time. We have an hour with them. And we
Insurance is
kind of,
like spot specific, right? Like
yeah,
they come
I
in
mean,
for X, you can, even though you'll start seeing a little bit of variation like down the chain, you're kind of restricted to just X.
yeah, I mean, I even in the clinic, I'll try to incorporate the whole body, but there's only so much time, so much things we could do. And then I try to stay away from it. I still do it with the people that I call the homies that I've seen them for a while. They're like, all right, man, we'll help you out. But for any new patient, you just don't want to risk for liability issues. You treat them for their, like, hey, my hip got messed up. We could say it's your hip causing the ankle pain, but for insurance, how about if I work on your hip, you know, mess up your hip by accident or something, then we get sued or something. I just don't want to run the risk of that. So we'll stick to the
So
ankle.
bizarre to me because I don't know. I feel as though like I understand the premise from the insurance standpoint, like as like this is traditionally how we've done it. But as somebody that's a movement and biomechanics expert, they don't
Yeah,
understand that everything is truly linked. And so to
yeah,
segment, that's like cutting off your wrist and be like, all right, just fix this. And it's like, wait, what? Like there's so many other things that affect that. And it's very segmented. It's very interesting. But like insurances don't think that way.
yeah. I think it's more than, I mean, we still do it. I mean, I'll treat when there's knee pain, you look at the hip and the ankle. When there's like low back, you look at the hip, upper back, all this stuff. But um, there's only so much time you could do it. That's why more in our private base, we do a full movement, and we kind of like on our private route. That's why I like it. I kind of take control of their schedule per se. I'm like, we're coming up with an app in the next month, but in our app, our client logs in, and we pretty much set out what exactly he's gonna do every day. So like, hey, this is your workout, and has videos in there. So that's what we do with our even our online clients. We're gonna start moving to app based, but we really take an approach where the patient or our client, we wouldn't say patient because client, because they're paying for our services per se. We kind of move away from the word patient. Um, but we kind of tell like, hey, you have 24/7 access to our phones. You send us a text and we'll jump on a call or something. So we kind of take the approach of like I would say like a professional PT for sports. Like they have access to us at all times. Like, hey, we'll respond within 24 hours. But their approach is we're actually going to give them a full program. Like, hey, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you're going to do this mobility stuff. Tuesday, Thursday, you're going to do this. This is going to be your workout thing. And they text me like, hey, wasn't able to go to the gym. What should I do? I'll send them like, hey, do this, do that. So it's kind of, we take I like to kind of take control of not take control, but run their schedule because they're like, hey, I don't know what to do. Can I train every day? It's like, no, we got to manage your load, see how well you progress. Go shoot, shoot in the hoop, go to the gym, shoot some jump shots, do that. So we kind of help take control of that. And obviously they're working with skills trainers, like with a lot of our basketball athletes say, hey, I'm working with my skills trainer, which that's why I like the private pay is like, what should I be doing? Is like, hey, sometimes I go with them to the private skills trainer, like the guy that's working on their handles and everything. And like, hey, this is the stuff that you could do. This is the stuff he's like, show me what you want him to do. And I'll be like, all right, he can do that. He can't do it. He's not ready for that, especially for those people that are recovering from like ACL injuries or anything. We try to communicate with everyone and communicate with the coaches. Be like, hey, he's not ready to play full on foot, but he's gonna play 1-on-1, 2-on-2. So that's what our approach is. It's just more, a lot of it is management of, hey, do this, do that. Because I think one big thing is you'll be surprised. Like I remember early on, I was like, hey, I'm just gonna fix him while that hour that I was there. But that person has, I don't know how many hours are in a week, but he has that many hours that he's not with you. So if you could help, tell him what he does in those other hours that he's not with you to make a huge change. Because I know one guy, we kind of set a schedule for him. It's like, hey, dude, you're going to sleep 8 hours, 8 to 10 hours a day, and you're going to stretch before you go to sleep. Because he's like, I wake up sore, all the time. And we changed his whole lifestyle. It's like, we even give him like, not nutritional advice, but just kind of like, hey, this is what I would do, because we're not nutritionists, so we can't say like, hey, make sure. But we partnered up with registered dietitians now to really kind of refer out to people. So it's kind of we try to manage the whole athlete and be like, hey, this is what you could do with your skills trainer. Go talk to your nutritionist. So kind of coordinating everything. That's what we really take pride in, and really just getting the basketball player in the best position possible.
That is amazing. I love every second of it because it's so at its core functional.
Yeah.
A lot of the times people are like, well, what do they need that for? They a lot of times people think of functional as in just like walking up the stairs and getting dressed and like
Exactly.
which it is. We need that. But when it comes to an athlete sport specific, they need those movements, they need that nutrition, they need that sleep. That for them is functional. And congratulations on the app. That is huge and super, super dope.
Yeah, hopefully soon. It's we're in the process of finalizing the agreement, but we just wanted to take it to another level because I feel like I know the prehab guys, shout out for them. They have a huge database where I know when as a PT, you're like, oh, can you write these exercises down? They're not going to remember when you write them down. Can you give me some pictures? They're going to do horrible for them. So the prehab guys made a whole library on like different little exercise form, which is now they're going to do it. So we took a different approach and being very specific to our athletes. So it's we have in the app the athlete with us, and they have a calendar, and they'll click on the day, and this is the exercise that they do. So it's kind of we're trying to take the patient experience, the client experience to another level, and try to really, hey, we're really going to try to get you better, and you have no excuses,
I love it. I love it. So, what keeps you motivated before we kind of wrap up?
Honestly, one thing is the student loans. You got, I mean, you look at
Keep
that
it
thing.
real. Okay, I love it.
Yeah, that's kind of like the biggest one. Because honestly, if reflecting back, if I didn't have any student loans going, I mean, I probably would have been content. Content with the 9 to 5. But obviously had student loans, so that kind of changed a little bit. So that kind of, and then also just the bigger purpose. I think the bigger purpose is, I know as a kid, obviously social media wasn't as prominent in high school. Facebook was prominent, but if I had, if I was able to go on Instagram and see like, oh, find the basketball doctors, I'm a basketball player. Oh, there's an ankle injury. Oh, we put information on every pyramid injury rehab and everything. If I could just follow their information, that would have been awesome. So I think my biggest, going back to, is if we could help out those basketball players that don't have access to healthcare or don't have a PT around there, and be able to help them, give them good information. And that's our biggest thing is, I see some crazy stuff every day on Instagram. Like, Jesus Christ, you're killing me. Where is this information coming from? Like, they're just kind of some bullshit stuff. So we try to bring evidence in there, and coming from like movement specialists, doctors with PTs, and strength coaches, we're trying to take it to another level and make sure whatever we put out is quality and they could follow, and it's gonna be good for them, not gonna put them at risk. So that kind of motivates me every day. Is like, hey, I could go back in time, and if someone's in my position getting hurt, and I could find a person, or even just watch the videos if they can't work with us and learn from something. That's the biggest thing. If we could just get all those basketball players that, maybe we could have decreased a couple ACL tears. Like, hey, I think that's the biggest thing. So that's kind of motivates. Obviously, loans, and then that was my passion ever since I was a kid. Help players. I was like, gonna make it to the NBA, and then from there fund a facility. So couldn't make it to the NBA. So, but we're on our way, hopefully, by having a facility where we treat athletes, mostly basketball players.
That's dope. And yeah, just speaking to your core values and like your initial mission of why you got into the profession that had the student loan debt to begin with.
Yeah, exactly.
And I really want to preface that, pre-PTs that are watching this, like, if you find something that you truly love and you are truly passionate, go for it. Like, go for it wholeheartedly, even if it doesn't exist yet. Like, if it doesn't exist yet and you find a need, that is actually it's a lot better.
Exactly.
Okay, you won't have a blueprint, but you'll be in your own lane, which is so amazing, and you'll be helping a whole set of people that probably didn't have the resources or help before you came along. So stick true to that. I know a lot of times, like, doctors deter people from like, oh, why does that, who needs that? If you find something that really resonates with you and helps and adds value to people's lives, go for it 100%. And so last question really quick. So if you were, this was a really phenomenal interview, by the way. If you were to start your pre-PT journey right now, knowing what you know, what would you do?
Damn, that's a great question. I mean, honestly, thank God for Instagram, for all those pre-PTs. Like, you have so much knowledge. Like, honestly, even when we were in grad school, when I was in PT school, Instagram was obviously there, but no one was putting up content on, like, now there's so much awareness of physical therapy. There's so much that you could learn just finding stuff online. So, honestly, for pre-PT, and we have a lot of pre-PT people that reach out to us. Unfortunately, we take students, but unfortunately right now with COVID, we're in LA, the thing's going out of hand. We're not having any students. Like, I canceled 2 clinicals with students just because patients don't feel safe. They barely feel safe. So, and our clients, our private clients, they're even kind of sketched out for having other people in there. So I would say the biggest thing is finding out, like we said, not so much your niche down, but kind of just looking on around Instagram, finding out what you want to do, and reaching out to those people and be like, hey, can I shadow you, or can I volunteer? There's so much at your hand on your phone that you could learn so much. And I think the other thing that I would done is we created Basketball Doctors 2018, so not too long ago. But I would say is start creating your brand, or start doing something. Whatever you have passion for, start doing it. So if it's like, could be, oh, you know what, I want to be a physical therapist. I want to work with these kind of people. Start creating your brand, or just because I think now the more, I think you need to have a brand. I think PT is kind of shifting down to, it's per person. Like, we're gonna be, I don't know. I think that's my vision, that physical therapist, and it's gonna be leaning more towards the cash services. So the more you create your brand, the better. But I mean, pre-PTs have it lucky. I mean, I I applaud those other ones before us. They kind of started the trend of putting information out there on Instagram, social media. I know like there's two old dudes on YouTube. They're called like they have like 100,000 subscribers on YouTube.
The famous PTs or something like that, or they're
Yeah, it's like two old dudes. I
yeah.
mean, I applaud them because they're like they kind of innovated that. They started YouTube stuff and they have their videos have like 1 million views because no one was putting it out there. Now more people are putting it out there. So I think that's huge. One thing though I would say is uh, just put out information that you're comfortable with. I know some people aren't comfortable with. I know when I was in PT school, I would just put information that I would learn, but at the same time, I was like, I'm not a PT yet. But at the same time, just put, as long as you put information out there that you learn and are comfortable with, you're okay. And I think that's the way I would start it off is literally starting my brand earlier on. And also just reaching out. But like you mentioned earlier, it's when I created basketball, there was nothing like it. Now there's more basketball people creating little presences online. Um, so like you said, if it doesn't exist, it's probably a good reason to create it. But if it does exist, that means there's a need for it. So it does. So it's like either or. I mean, I think that you have to go away for any pre-PTs, like go away from the scarcity mindset where it's like, oh, there's only so much people in the world. Don't hide clients. I mean, there's billions of people that need our help. So I think if you get out of that mindset and really try to embark on that, I think that's huge. But I mean, honestly, with um, Instagram, all this stuff, it's like you could at a fingertip send a message to like any PT and they'll respond to like, hey, you mind if I shadow you or stuff like that, or even offer them honestly like I would kind of take an approach, offer them to be their intern. Like, hey, I can offload some work for you and you'll learn at the same time. Like we have 4 interns working for us, and we they do some of our quote unquote busy work, some of like some of the basic stuff that we're doing. We just don't have as much time, and they in exchange they get an hour of mentoring with us every week. So we just kind of teach them how like right now we're working on their apps for PT school, their essays. So kind of I think that's the best way to approach it. Be like, hey, can I be your intern, whatever, and just know it's gonna suck. You're gonna do some light work, but you're gonna get so much out of it because you're gonna be like they'll usually be like, hey, because you helped me out, I'll mentor you. And mentoring, finding a mentor, I think is huge early on, and especially with social media, you can find them with just clicking like hashtag physical therapy.
Yeah, it's very easy and it's very accessible, and I think a lot of people that are honestly putting themselves out there, a lot of PTs are super chill. Like you guys, I don't know
Yeah,
Marco. Like we've never
yeah,
met in person.
yeah,
I emailed him and was like, "Hey, would you mind doing this show?" You know, and everyone I think in the profession genuinely wants to see the next generation win because that is a whole
yeah,
level up for physical therapy as a whole. So reach out, find whoever, find look at the big picture of physical therapy and who is doing what. Find somebody that is in line of what you personally want to do.
exactly.
They're out there. You just have to outreach and find it. So
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, those are great points. And then you can just find them literally social media, Google. The internet's your best friend right now. You can find anyone.
we are in the best generation to create anything we want. I
Exactly.
talk about this all the time. We are in such an accessible generation that it's truly unprecedented, and I want every pre-PT to take advantage of it. I want you guys to run with it. Just go in there running, fire blazing, and do the thing, because the way that we're going to level up the whole profession is if as a collective we're going for it. So that's why I want to expose you guys to awesome PTs like Margot and other ones that are going to be on this series, because it is happening. We just got to put that work in.
No, for sure. Yeah, I'm saying like these PTs, now future PTs, we want to help them because if we help them now, it's going to help us out at the same time. We're just helping the overall profession. So the more we help them learn from our mistakes, you guys will crush it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Marco.
Thanks for having me on.
familiar with like so many different avenues. Is there, if there's a sports specific genre that you want to go into, find a PT that does that. Like
Yeah.
figure it out and have fun figuring it out. Don't think that there's a lot of pressure. There's pelvic floor, right?
Yeah, exactly.
There's so many different avenues, and just look out there. They're all there. You just have to take the time and look. When I was a pre-PT as well, and I was starting as an aide, I was like, all right, I did a certain amount of time of volunteer. Let's see what I can like, how I can diversify myself as a pre-PT, not only as an applicant for school, but as jobs too. You guys, like, it
Exactly.
looks fires for you to say like, hey, as a volunteer, I've worked here, 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 and here I am as an aide, bringing all my knowledge that I have gained from all these other places. Like,
Yep.
you guys have to leverage your experiences. And I know a lot of pre-PTs will like, well, like, how am I supposed to get a job as an aide? I'm telling you right now how to get a job as an aide. Okay,
Yeah,
go
exactly.
volunteer, expose yourself, and just explore and have fun. Like, I think the time to do it is when you don't have all the pressure of student loans, you guys. Like,
Exactly.
you won't be bogged down with the like, what, $3,000 bill every month that is student loans.
Yeah.
You guys have to leverage your experiences. And I know a lot of pre-PTs will like, well, like, how am I supposed to get a job as an aide? I'm telling you right now how to get a job as an aide. Okay,
Yeah,
go
exactly.
volunteer, expose yourself, and just explore and have fun.
I'm a big proponent of actions speak louder than words. So if you put in the work and do your part, I'm satisfied with that. I know a lot of people's like, oh, we need to do this, we need to do that. It's like, why aren't you doing it then? So
Yeah.
that's kind of the biggest thing. So I think if younger PT, so if you're happy with the 9 to 5, albeit, but if you're not happy with it, and that's what kind of brings down a profession, because you start showing that performance at work, you start not caring about the patient as much, and you're not doing that. You got to change it. You either got to go to acute care or something, or change up the scenery. There's a lot of fields within PT. Find what you're passionate about, and that's what's gonna keep you driving, you know?